So, another form of soil degradation apart from physical soil degradation is what we call chemical soil degradation. So we can define chemical soil degradation as those processes that cause changes to the chemical composition of the soil which will negatively affect their productivity. So most of the times, this form of soil degradation will occur mainly due to excessive use of agricultural chemicals. And we have some good examples of agricultural chemicals such as fertilizer, herbicides, as well as pesticides and many more. And sometimes chemical degradation can also be formed due to poor drainage. If the water will find it difficult to penetrate into the soil or to infiltrate into the soil, some salts which are in the soil will just pile up in the soil, forming soil degradation. And also excessive irrigation can also be one of the cause of chemical form of soil degradation, more especially if we irrigate water using the waters which are of low quality. But now, what are the causes of soil degradation? There are several causes of soil degradation, and some are what I just listed on the slide. And one of the causes of soil degradation, and which is much more common, is use of inappropriate agricultural practices. Apart from that, deforestation and also uncontrolled bushfires when clearing, uncontrolled fires when clearing the bush, and also overgrazing due to overstocking, and lastly, high human population growth. Let's start with the first one, which is use of inappropriate agricultural practices. There are several poor agricultural practices which can cause soil degradation, and one of the poor agricultural practice which can cause soil degradation is cultivating steep slopes, as well as cultivating river banks. On cultivating steep slopes, most of the times, if we stir the soils on steep slopes, it will be easy for those soils to be carried away by either rainwater, as well as heavy winds, causing soil erosion. And also, as we have already said, that soil erosion is the main cause of soil degradation. Therefore, this will also lead to soil degradation. The same applies when you are cultivating along the river banks. Along the river banks, we may find some vegetation, but if we opt to cultivate along the river banks, it means we'll be clearing those vegetation, making the soils also to be carried away, causing flooding, even increasing soil erosion more once the floods have occurred, causing soil degradation. Another bad farming practice which can cause soil degradation is constructing ridges along the slope. In agriculture, it is recommended that ridges should be constructed across the slope so as to reduce the speed of moving water. But then, if those ridges are constructed along the slope, it will be difficult to reduce the speed of moving water. Hence, that will just accelerate or increase the speed of running water, carrying huge volumes of soil, causing soil erosion, therefore causing soil degradation. And also another cause of soil degradation under use of inappropriate agricultural practices is use of heavy machineries. Heavy machineries, most of the times, they will destroy the structure of the soil by making those soils to be compacted together. We have already explained that one of the forms of soil degradation is a physical form of soil degradation, whereby we say that it will occur once the soil structure is being destroyed either by rain as well as heavy machinery. So heavy machinery should be another inappropriate agricultural practices which can cause soil degradation. And lastly, another bad farming practice which can cause soil degradation is use of excessive agricultural chemicals or excessive application of fertilizers. If fertilizers are used in huge volume, in those fertilizers there are some of the nutrients, or in short, there are some of the salts which are found in those fertilizers. And those salts, if applied in good amount, they will boost agricultural production. But then, if they are applied excessively or too much, as per saying, too much is always poisonous. So, if those fertilizers are applied in huge amount, definitely the salts will pile up in the soil, causing chemical form of soil degradation. Then another cause we've mentioned is deforestation. Deforestation is referred to wanton cutting down of trees. We know the importance of trees in as far as controlling soil erosion is concerned. So, if those trees are wiped away or they have been cut, that will make the land to be bare, exposing the soil to agents of soil erosion. So, calm wind can easily wipe away the top layer of the soil. Calm rain will easily carry the top layer of the soil, since those soils now are not protected by trees. The same applies with uncontrolled fires when clearing the bush. If the fires are not controlled, they will wipe away all the vegetation, also leaving the land bare, causing soil erosion, also leading to soil degradation. Another cause is overgrazing due to overstocking. This will also lead to destruction of vegetation, If you are keeping too much livestock, definitely there will be overgrazing, wiping vegetation on land, leaving the land bare, exposing the soils to agents of soil erosion. Therefore, this can also cause soil degradation. And the last most important cause of soil degradation is high human population growth. In an area, if there is high human population growth, there will be high demand on natural resources. And one of the natural resources which will be of high demand should be trees. So, if the population is increasing, there will be high demand on trees. Therefore, they will be cutting down trees just to get uh, fuel wood. They'll be cutting down trees just to make charcoal. They'll be cutting down trees to make timber so that they can use uh, 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 those materials when they are constructing the houses or any other buildings which will be used uh, as per demand of this high human population growth. So, high human population growth most times will encourage deforestation, therefore causing soil degradation as already explained. Why are we discussing about soil degradation? We're discussing soil degradation just because there are some consequences which we face due to soil degradation. So there are several effects which we're having due to soil degradation, and most of the times these effects they are on negative part. There are few effects which are on positive part, but most of them they are on negative part. So we're going to describe on the effects of soil degradation, but now on the negative part. One of the effects of soil degradation is loss of fertile top soil. As already said, that one of cause of soil degradation is soil erosion, and we define soil erosion as the removal of the top layer of the soil. We learned in Form 2 that the top layer of the soil is the one which will contain more nutrients, making that top layer of the soil to be fertile. So if it is removed due to soil erosion, uh, it means that will result into low crop yields. So low crop yield is the resultant effect of soil degradation due to loss of fertile top soil. And also another effect of soil degradation is loss of arable land. We have discussed that due to soil erosion, some gullies might be formed. And those big gullies, if they are formed, it will be difficult for us to cultivate in such areas. Therefore, it means we are reducing the arable land for us to cultivate. So, loss of arable land is another effect of soil degradation. Apart from that, we have flooding. Flooding is also as a result of soil degradation, whereby if some of the silt or some of the soils, when they are carried from land and deposited into water reservoirs, most times that will cause flooding. That will cause flooding. So flooding is also another effect of soil degradation. Apart from that, we have spread of waterborne diseases. Spread of waterborne diseases. As flooding will be occurring, some of the pathogens will be carried from top areas to down areas or lower areas, lower lands. These waterborne diseases, they can be those diseases which will attack crops, they can be diseases which will attack animals, as well as the diseases which can attack farmers. In whatever way, that will affect in production, whether in crop production as well as even in animal production. Apart from that, the same flooding can also cause the spread of weed seeds. As the flooding will be occurring, or as the water will be moving, they'll be carrying some weed seeds from top areas to lower grounds. So some of the weeds will be invaded in lower grounds, all because of soil degradation. Apart from that, another effect of soil degradation is siltation in water reservoirs. So siltation, we're talking of accumulation of silt in those water reservoirs. Good examples of water reservoirs should be rivers. And nowadays, most of the rivers, they're just piled up with silt. So siltation is one of the effects of soil degradation. Apart from that, another effect of soil degradation is water sources pollution. Most of the times, these water sources are polluted just because of the uncontrolled moving of water. So those water will be carrying some trashes, they'll be carrying some chemicals from the land or cultivated area into these water sources, causing pollution. And most of the times, if the water sources are polluted, that can affect much in fish production. And another effect of soil degradation is increased runoff, reduced infiltration. Increased runoff, reduced infiltration. Most of the times, if the soil structure is destroyed, meaning if a physical soil degradation has been formed, it means soil particles are compacted together. If they are compacted together, it means the water will just be moving on top while not being infiltrating into the soil. So most of the times, soil degradation, more especially physical soil degradation, has happened, that can lead to increased runoff. The water will just be moving on top surface of the soil, but they will not be infiltrating into the lower layers. So most of the times, if there is reduced infiltration, this can cause drying up of water reservoirs. Most of the times, if there is water infiltration into the soil, that will raise the water table. But if there is reduced infiltration, that will reduce the water table. So if the water table is reduced, it will be easier for water reservoirs to dry up, just because the level of water in water reservoirs like rivers, lakes, it will depend on the level of water table. So if the water table is high, we expect more water in water reservoirs, but if the water table is low, we also expect less amount of water in water reservoirs or no water at all. so leading to drying up of those water reservoirs. So most of the effects of soil degradation which we have mentioned, starting with loss of fertile topsoil resulting into low crop yield, reduced arable land due to formation of gullies, talk of flooding, spreading of waterborne diseases, spreading of weed seeds, all these will lead to food insecurity. So the most serious effect of soil degradation is food insecurity. And if in the country there is food insecurity, or just in a family there is food insecurity, that can lead to death. It can start with malnutrition, then causing death. So now let's look on the relationship between rapid population growth and soil degradation. We mentioned earlier that one of the causes of soil degradation is rapid population growth or high human population growth. So let's look into details the relationship between this rapid population growth and soil degradation. Nowadays, if we can compare the 20th century or even 19th century with the 21st century, in terms of population, it is far way different. It is very, very different. In the past, the population was just less, but now the population has really increased. But unfortunately, the resources which we are having are the same handful, and also even the country is not expanding. So this rapid population growth, in order for it to satisfy its need, they'll need the same few resources we are having. They'll need the same lands to cultivate in order for them to produce more to satisfy the growing population. So population growth leads to a wide range of activities which in turn lead to soil degradation. And some of the activities performed by this growing population is high demand for fuel wood. So an increase in population will lead to an increase in fuel wood demand. They all need to cook, therefore they all need fuel, increasing demand for fuel wood. Definitely, if there is an increase in demand for fuel wood, that will also cause rampant deforestation. Deforestation will be rampant. So therefore, another range of activity which will cause soil degradation due to rapid population growth is deforestation. So most of the times, the forest lands are created just for human settlement, just for them to cultivate, find a place to cultivate, also to find a place to construct. If we are talking of high human population growth, it means more settlement lands will also be needed. More lands will be needed to cultivate, and also more land will be needed to construct, to do constructions. So most of the times, the areas which we are remaining with are those which are restricted areas like forest land. So people are forced to do this activity, so-called deforestation, solely for human settlement, cultivation, as well as for constructions. Apart from that, another relationship or another activity which is performed by population or high human population growth is over cultivation. As I've already said, even though the population is increasing, but the land is not uh, expanding at all. So the few lands or the few fields which we are having to cultivate, they will be the same which will be used to cultivate so as to satisfy the growing population. So therefore, this will lead to over cultivation, whereby the fields will be continuously being cultivated. So if that will happen, that will destroy the structure of the soil, hence forming physical degradation. And also just because the fields or the land to cultivate few, or the place to cultivate few, in order for this population to produce enough, there will be need for them to apply excessive uh, agricultural chemicals, more especially fertilizers, so as to boost to boost production. So, excessive use of agri-chemicals will also form chemical degradation. And lastly, industrialization is also one of the things which will come up due to population growth. Different industries will be encouraged now so that at least to create some jobs for the growing population, also to manufacture some goods which will be needed by this growing population. So in turn, in industrialization, definitely they'll be using some fumes or some chemicals which in one point in time they'll be deposited on the land, causing pollution. So definitely that will also cause chemical form of soil degradation. Lastly, even though we have looked on the consequences of soil degradation or the negative effects of soil degradation, which are much more serious, but it is possible to control soil degradation. So, on ways of controlling soil degradation, this involves all the practices which aim at reducing the rate of soil erosion, thereby controlling soil degradation. And these practices may either be biological or physical. So we have two main ways through which soil degradation can be controlled, using biological control measures as well as physical control measures. So biological control measures sometimes we refer them as cultural control measures, while physical control measures we sometimes refer them to structural control measures. Let's start with biological control measures. These are the agricultural practices that use vegetation to minimize soil erosion. For example, planting trees and grasses. These trees, they are very, very important in as far as controlling soil erosion is concerned. For example, their roots will bind the soil particles, making it difficult for the coming water or wind to wipe away the top layer of the soil. We talk of their stems. The stems of the trees will also control the speed of moving water, therefore reducing the volumes of the soil which can be carried away. We talk of the twigs or the leaves of the trees. These leaves of the trees will also control splash erosion. When the rain will be coming, those raindrops, before reaching the ground or the soil, they will hit on the leaves first, therefore reducing the raindrop force, which will cause splash erosion. So just by planting trees, through afforestation and reforestation, and also just by planting grasses, those will help to minimize soil erosion. Apart from that, another biological control measure is planting close growing cover crops. Good examples of close growing cover crops are groundnuts. Apart from that, strawberries. Apart from that, pumpkins. We have watermelons. We have sweet potatoes. So most of the crops of which their vegetative part are runners, we call them close growing cover crops. So those close growing cover crops, at least their leaves or their vegetative part, as I have already said, they are runners. It means they'll be covering the soil, protecting that soil from splash erosion, therefore controlling soil degradation. Apart from that, it's practicing strip cropping. On strip cropping is whereby one of the row you plant some grasses, which will be helping to reduce the speed of moving water, controlling soil erosion. So one line you plant some grasses, which will be reducing soil erosion, followed by some agricultural crops or arable crops, followed by another line for grass, which will help to control soil erosion. Another biological control measure which is also useful is practicing agroforestry as well as crop rotation. Agroforestry is the practice of growing arable crops together with arable trees. So these trees are the ones which will be helping now to reduce or to minimize soil erosion. I have already said how trees will help to minimize soil erosion. So if we plant arable crops together with arable trees, those trees will be protecting the soil from soil erosion. The same applies with crop rotation. If different types of crops are alternated season by season and plot after plot, this will help to control soil erosion, just because different types of the crops, they have got a different root system, and more especially fibrous root system, they will bind the soil particles, minimizing soil erosion. Apart from that, use of farmyard manure. Farmyard manure, they act as cementing agent. So the soils which are not well structured, if you apply farmyard manure, it means they'll be banded together. If they're banded together, most of the times it will be difficult for the soils to be carried away, therefore minimizing soil erosion. Apart from that, mulching as another biological control measure. The marshes which you will use in the process of mulching, or the grasses, the dry grasses or dry vegetative materials which we put on top of the soil, they will reduce splash erosion. Therefore, controlling soil degradation. Apart from that, avoiding overstocking avoiding deforestation is also a good thing which will help to control soil degradation. If we avoid overstocking, which can lead to overgrazing, and also avoiding deforestation, it means we're going to maintain the vegetative cover. The vegetative cover is very, very important in as far as protecting the soil from agents of soil erosion is concerned. So, if the soil is well protected or is covered by vegetation, definitely this will minimize soil erosion, hence controlling soil degradation. And the last biological control measure is what we call, the practice is what we call practicing family planning to check human population. We have already said or explained the relationship between high human population growth with that of soil degradation. So, we have looked a number of things or a number of activities performed by high human population which will cause soil degradation. So, if we reduce or we check human population by reducing in the number, by practicing family planning, it means some of the activities will not be, which will cause soil degradation may not be performed. Therefore, the best way of controlling soil degradation is just by reducing human population growth. So, the last control measure is structural or physical control measure. This will involve use of constructed structures which help to control soil erosion. And some of the structures which we can construct to reduce or to control soil erosion are construction of storm water drains, constructing tie or box ridges, construction of contour bands across the slope. On construction of storm water drains, this is whereby you create some channels, or you just create some drains. Those drains now will be diverting the water from upland into natural waterway. Sometimes these drains, they can artificially be constructed. Most of the times they are artificially constructed just to divert water from upland into natural waterways. Most of the times the water from upland, if they will just be flowing anyhow, are the ones which will be carrying volumes of huge volumes of soil, causing soil erosion and also soil degradation. But if those water from the upland are well directed into natural waterway, soil erosion can be minimized. Apart from that, constructing tie, constructing tie or box ridges. These box ridges or tie ridges will be holding water in furrows. Therefore, this will reduce runoff, but rather allowing water to sink into the soil. So, it will also act as a way of conserving water. Apart from that, the last one is constructing contour bands across the slope. On constructing contour bands across the slope is whereby you construct big ridges across the slope, followed by the small ridges where you'll be planting your crops. So those big ridges which will be constructed across the slope are the ones which will be reducing the speed of moving water, therefore minimizing or controlling soil erosion, hence controlling soil degradation. All in all, in what we have explained on soil degradation, we can form a causal effect problem tree on soil degradation. We can start with the causes of soil degradation down as the root cause of soil degradation. The root cause of soil degradation. So the roots can be as causes of soil degradation such as bad farming practices, uncontrolled bushfires, high population growth, deforestation, as well as overgrazing. So these ones are the ones which will cause soil degradation. But now, as we have already said, that soil degradation has got some effects. So soil degradation, uh, there are some fruits, bad fruits. For example, that's flood disease. Apart from that, low water table. Apart from that, loss of arable land, and also water pollution as also another effect of soil degradation. Let's just appreciate all of the effects of soil degradation. So that you can see how flooding it is as far as affecting the properties is concerned. Yeah, so as we have seen in the video, we can see how serious flooding can be. Had it been there were some crops there, definitely they would have been wiped away. The same what has happened to the buildings as well as some of the properties. It was all about soil degradation, where we have defined what soil degradation is. We have also looked on the forms of soil degradation. Also, we have discussed on the causes of soil degradation. Then we have looked on the effects of soil degradation. We have also looked on the relationship between high human population growth and soil degradation. And lastly, we have looked on the remedies of soil degradation or how to control soil degradation. So next time we're going to start a new topic, that is topic 2 in book 4, that is agriculture and climate change. Thank you.
Yanu kufunafuna mapunziro muzakhala wotumidwa moyo wanu wonse. Ngati simuphunzira anthu azingokutumani ajala kalime ajala kuchwe manyazi ajala katende yanti ndipo anthu ophunzira wandu wotumanso kwambiri. Ndiye ngati simuphunzira skulu akuyikirani apa mukhala otumidwa.